Good morning, everyone. How is everybody doing today? Excellent. Thank you all for being here. My name is Alex Petrov. I am the product manager for identity theft from Legal Resources in Virginia Beach. And today, myself and two nice ladies here, we're going to talk to you about the identity theft issues today that we're facing. We're going to talk about the benefits that are offered to you and how they can help you, and basically increase your knowledge base with some interesting examples about what identity theft is and what can you do to prevent it as much as you can and help yourself in a situation if you become a victim. So we have Erin here and Sahara will take over in the middle of the presentation, and she's going to give you some great examples about some of the most popular scams that are out there today. So without further ado, we're going to start. So we're going to first speak about some background and statistics on the issue. Then we're going to talk about prevention tips and warning signs. Then we'll move on into what can we do if identity theft happens to us. And last but not least, we're going to talk about this voluntary benefit that your company picked up last year. And some of you may remember me from then. We have some exciting new updates that we're going to talk about, and I'll show you the new interface that we have now. So we're going to give you a lot of information today. At the end, we may have a pop quiz. We'll see how it goes. So here we go. Some of the background and the statistics on identity theft. You see, identity theft is something that has been around for many, many years. It's become something of a profession for some people to be identity thieves. And unfortunately, it's here to stay. But it's been around for a very, very long time. Even from the time of the old Egyptians, when they actually would fake documents, fake the signatures of the kings, and misappropriate funds or land. It's pretty much as old as the oldest professions in the world. But today, the internet made it possible for identity theft to proliferate so much that it has become a huge issue, and it's here to stay. Every 2 seconds, there's a new victim of identity theft today. The average time to recover from identity theft, if it happens to you, is 330 hours, based on statistics from Javelin Strategy and Research. So it's a very cumbersome, difficult process to go through. The reason is that when you're a victim of identity theft, you know you're a victim, but the organizations that are involved, such as the IRS or the banks, they do not know who is at fault. So you have to prove you're innocent. So in the beginning of such a case, you're always presumed guilty and you have to prove your innocence. So that's why the cases can be difficult to work through, especially when you don't have a lot of experience. If it's something new to you, to a lot of people, it's a very shocking, very surprising, and unfortunate experience. 1 in 4 Americans ages 16 or older will become a victim of identity theft. Now, it's more of a question of when it will happen to us, not so much if. So it is so widespread that it's a question of when. The average financial losses, they're in the neighborhood of $3,500 per person per incident. Now, if we're talking about medical, which has been growing immensely over the last several years, medical identity theft easily goes in the neighborhood of $13,000 to $14,000 per incident. And medical is actually a very, very strong candidate for identity theft always, because medical databases, they're very rich with information. They have your medical history, they have your personal information, they have your credit cards, your social, they have everything about you. It's great for blackmailing people too. So when you think about it, that's why there's been such a prime target for thieves. And here's some of the companies that have been breached over the last couple of years only. Now, as you can see, a lot of industries have been affected, from small to large hospital systems. Target was one of the first and most popularized breaches out there. Now, unfortunately, if we actually had to show you all of the breaches, I probably was going to need more than 1,000 slides. Because just this year, we're probably in the neighborhood of about over 200 based on my last review. Just this year so far. And we're not even close to the middle of the year. Most of them are healthcare related, but there's also retailers, ransomware, IRS related, and many other types of scams. So really, almost any industry already has been breached. So it's a question of time when the rest of them will be. Why is that happening? Well, the thieves, bless you, they like to to do this, and sometimes they don't have to leave their house to actually create the breach. They work out of their own homes. They may not even get off of their bedrooms. They would just sit in their beds and they do this all day, all night. And they're very smart guys, and actually when they steal your credit cards, they're going to post it for sale on the dark web with your zip code. And guess what's going to happen there? Your information is there with your zip code, and the smart buyers of such stolen information will shop in the same places where you shop, which means your bank will never alert you that anything is wrong. So what can you do about it? Well, we'll talk about it when we get to the plan information of the plans that we're offering to you as a voluntary benefit. So what types of identity theft are there? Most of you are familiar with identity theft credit card fraud, which means somebody stealing your credit card data, going out on a shopping spree on Amazon, stealing, buying some things with your money. Well, that is only one type of identity theft, but there's many others too. And as you can see, it's mind-boggling how many types there are. I know I'm pretty sure you're going to hear a little bit more from Sahara later on some of those scams on synthetic identity, but basically there's many types of identity theft, including criminal, personal. I'll give you an example for criminal identity theft. Imagine there is a grand theft or robbery, and there is people there that the thieves, they would drop off conveniently maybe your driver's license because they stole it a couple of days earlier. They leave the scene, your driver's license is found there. Who do you think is going to get arrested for that crime? Well, you will be, until you prove your innocence. I hope you have good alibi, otherwise you may stay in jail for a while, even though you didn't do anything wrong. So that is an example of criminal identity theft. Somebody can steal your information, conveniently leave it somewhere at a crime scene, and that's evidence. It becomes evidence and you will be arrested. And then you have to prove your innocence. You may lose time off of work. What's going to happen to your work, your wages, your reputation? What if you have to go to court? Who's going to pay for your lawyer? Do you think your bank is going to help you with that? Well, it's not really their concern because it's not about your bank account or credit card. So as you can see, there is much more to identity theft than just somebody stealing a credit card. So for the credit cards portion, what can you do? Well, obviously, we need to keep track of our information and our transactions. Okay, identity theft plans like the voluntary benefit you have can help you with some of that information. Going back to the example of the information stolen and posted on the so-called dark web for sale, this is where our product monitors and will give you an alert. Your bank will give you an alert only in one situation, when there's a purchase attempt from a place which is, let's say, in another country. Your bank is pretty good at that, and they will alert you if somebody in Paris or London is trying to buy something with your credit card. But what if somebody is going to the Target down the street over here and is buying something with your credit card? Do you think your bank will alert you about it? They wouldn't, because they think it's you. You're in the same area. So that's where the difference is between what the banks can do and identity theft protection plans could do. But of course, credit card fraud is one of the largest portions of identity theft fraud in general. What other types are there? We are vulnerable on many different places and locations, in real life and in the virtual world. From the real life, you must have heard of something called dumpster diving. A lot of people have already. This is basically somebody going through your trash. You've seen it in movies, and actually there are people that do that. You can learn a lot about a person looking at their trash. And sometimes people will throw away important documents. Even a bank statement or any type of credit card statement, maybe IRS documentation that is very old. So a lot of this is kind of like a gold mine for the thieves of information. They can compile bits and pieces and they can create a whole new identity using your information because they already have it. Now, on the very bottom, there's phishing and smishing. There's a lot of names. They like to come up with these strange names, but phishing, spelled with PH, is when somebody sends you an email and they're actually asking you to divulge, to offer personal information or financial information, and you're thinking you're communicating with a legal entity, with a real company or a person, maybe a friend or your organization or your bank, but you're actually talking to a thief. So, and I'm sure there'll be some other examples that Sahara will share with you on that too. Smishing, SMS smishing. So basically that is for text messaging on your phone. This is where you get text messages and somebody, a thief, is asking you to click on a link that may actually install software that will steal all of your data from your phone just by clicking on that link. That's called smishing. So basically it's an attack on you, on your privacy, somebody getting your information by making you respond positively on something. Could be an email. In this case with the smishing is SMS. And they say, click here, you're going to win $1,000 or something like that. So you click on the link, it installs software on your phone, sends all of your information to the thieves. That's an example of that. So there's many places that we're susceptible to identity theft. Public Wi-Fi, same thing. You must have heard that when you go somewhere, coffee shops, airports. If you access your email or any other accounts, maybe your bank online account, what are you going to do? You're going to enter your password, right? If it's public Wi-Fi, someone may intercept that and get that information. So it's really dangerous. Can you do everything to actually protect yourself? Can you always do the right thing? Well, we can't. We don't have the time or even the knowledge sometimes to completely and constantly protect ourselves. So I'm letting you know all of these examples so you get a basic understanding of it, not to scare you, because there is help, such as the identity theft protection plans and all these steps that you can take yourself, which we will talk about on how to protect yourself. On dumpster diving, what is the easiest solution? Well, shredder. There you go, Amanda, absolutely. Get a shredder. You can get one for less than $25 now, and it's one of the best investments you'll ever make, probably, to protect you and your family.
You need a good one, though, because you get these and after a couple of months, the matters don't.
Agreed, yes. They are shredders and they are shredders, yes, of course. And that's right. And of course, yes, you can create a little fire. I wouldn't recommend that, of course, obviously, but you can do that too, of course. We are very vulnerable on the internet, obviously. We like to go there all the time, some of us. You go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, we visit all these sites. We have millions of virtual friends. It all makes us very happy. But unfortunately, that's where we share a lot of information, whether we like it or not. For example, if a lot of people put their birth date, but not the year. So they put the month and the date, so people will tell them happy birthday on the right day, but they can put the wrong year. Basically with the idea to hide your exact date of birth. And then you post a picture and say, here's my picture from our 20-year anniversary from my high school graduation. If you do that, I'm going to figure out what your birth year is. So it's very easy to figure out information, and we're doing it, we're divulging that information, we're showing it off without even knowing. So a lot of people use pets names for security question answers. Like my dog Lucy, that's the name I'm going to use for the answer for most of the security questions I get. And then you post pictures of Lucy on your Facebook page, and everybody knows the answers to your security questions. Does that make sense? We do it constantly, all the time, and we don't even realize it, but it's just part of life. So, IRS. Well, we just finished the IRS year, and I'm sure there's a lot of scammers that are very happy because they filed a lot of fraudulent tax refunds. That means when someone else is using your information, your social, and some fake data that can be recreated on a printer and a computer, and they file instead of you, they get you a tax refund or some kind of a tax refund under your social, and then you're stuck working with the IRS for the next 6 months to figure it all out. Because it takes a long time to work with the IRS. You can't just pick up the phone and resolve an issue with them. It's much more hard to do, actually. So, how can you protect yourself? Well, buy a shredder. Then, number 2, buy a shredder. Okay. And there's more. Have you heard of a site called annualcreditreport.com? This is the one and only site which is government approved to allow you to access your credit reports once a year. And you can do it maybe in the beginning of the year from TransUnion, then 3 months later from Experian, then from Equifax, and you have a view of your credit reports for the whole year. Not the score, but the actual report. And that is the only site that will allow you to do that. Okay? So there is many others that claim to do it, but they're not very legit. So I would stay away from them. Credit Karma, though, is not a bad one. Some people use that. They give you some of that information. And lately, they have been starting to offer some scores too. But it's only from one bureau as far as I know. So read your statements, bank account statements, credit card statements, any statement that you're getting from financial institution, 401k. Medical insurance statements, if you're not getting such, you can request them and see maybe if somebody is getting a kidney and you have to pay for it. You may not know. You may not know until you start getting the bills. So that's why review your statements. It doesn't take long, maybe once a month, but it's something that will help you in the long run. Shred the information that you don't need. Number 3, buy a shredder. Complex passwords. This is a difficult one. The science industry, the internet, the IT specialists, they're thinking constantly about new ways to make our lives easier with passwords, but it's not easy. And it may never be. Unfortunately, it's not easy for us to create complex passwords and remember them all. So a lot of people use simplistic passwords and maybe the same password for 1,000 websites. We all do that because it's easy, because you don't want to go around with pieces of paper with these things written down in your pocket, because it's just not convenient. They're trying to use fingerprint, readers and encoding, eye scanners. So one day we may have something with our DNA. So they're constantly trying to find good ways, but today we're not in so much luck. The best thing we can do today is create complex passwords and have them either memorized or put in a piece of paper somewhere. So I know it's not convenient, but it's the best thing we can do. Do you know what is the most popular password out there? Password. It still is. It still is. It still is, unfortunately, and there's a lot of articles about this, that people are very dumb in that respect, and they keep doing the same simplistic things, and it's very easy to figure them out. So use something a little bit different. Maybe not the pet's name, maybe not your husband or hubby or wife's name, but you can use something else. Yes. What are the danger signs? Well, the danger signs sometimes can be very obvious, such as bank transactions that you are not aware of. You're thinking you didn't do that. Hopefully, it was someone else. Well, actually, unfortunately, it could be someone else. So looking at transactions will help you catch fraud. Other ways, medical bills. Again, if you're not checking your medical statements, someone may have got a procedure done, and then you're going to get the bill. So if you get a bill that has something that you know you didn't do, obviously it's a danger sign. Notifications that your account has been breached, that's obvious. What is the first thing you do? Call the institution, whether it's a credit card, bank, cancel that account. If you don't know what to do, just ask. Our member services department, they're also Citram certified. They can help you answer all questions that you may have. Now, when there's a serious case of identity theft, you have to do 2 things. File a report with the police, and 2, file a report with the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. They're all necessary steps in order for everything else to work afterwards and to get help. So, the Federal Trade Commission, this is a great website, FTC. You go there, you have information on all the latest scams. It's all listed there, what's happening in the world right now. It tells you everything you need to know. They have different portions about different types of services that they offer, and one of them is about identity theft specifically. So this is the exact site, www.consumer.ftc.gov, and then privacy and identity. Okay, great resource. Steps to take when you're a victim. I just mentioned that basically you file 2 reports with the FTC and with the police. You're going to need both if you're going to need some type of a restoration. Now, if you have one of our identity theft protection plans, we're going to help you with the restoration, and we're going to pay for everything to get it fixed. If you don't have our identity theft plan, then you're going to have to work with the police and the FTC to resolve this. And of course, you will have to do some of the work on that. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory, the filing the reports, contacting the creditors. Obviously, if it's a credit card bill, one of the first places you're going to call is the credit card company. Right? So, security freezes and fraud alerts. This is something that you can do for your credit to help yourself. Basically, people do that after a breach, but you can do it prophylactically even without a breach. One thing you can do is the fraud alert, which is over here on the right side. That means that if you're trying to get credit, or if a thief is trying to get credit using your social, the credit bureaus have to call you and verify who you are before they issue the credit, which is good, because if they didn't have to do that, they're going to issue the credit, it's going to go on your credit report, and then you're going to waste 2 to 3 months trying to get it off. That's what the issue is if you don't have such service. Credit freeze is very similar, but you pay for it. I believe it's like $10. If you're a victim, it's free. But usually it's about $10, and you can do it anytime you want. But if you want to lift the freeze to do your own work with your credit, you have to use a passcode. It's a bit of an extra work you have to do to unfreeze your credit so you can do the things you want to do, such as buy a car, buy a house, get any kind of credit. So it costs about $10 per bureau. You got to do it with all 3 bureaus separately, and it's a freeze, meaning no one can see your credit report. With the fraud alert, they can see the report, but they cannot issue credit. With the freeze, they cannot even look at your report. It's not possible for the creditor to look at your report. They see a blank screen. And you have to unfreeze it for them so they can do the lookup. Does that make sense? So there's a difference between the 2 services. They help, but again, it's not a complete identity theft protection because they don't look at the dark web, that you're not going to get any alerts if any of your information is exposed. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's not a complete prevention with the service turned on. And here I'm going to turn it over to Sahara to tell you a little bit more about the popular scams out there.
We're going to do a microphone switch real quick. Ooh, that's quick. Yeah, I am going to pin this on. There we go. I feel very official doing this. Sorry. But I talk with my hands a lot, so this will be good for me. I actually have some things to do. I'm going to put these right here really quick before I start. So, good morning, everyone. My name's Sahara. I'm with Legal Resources. I work in conjunction with Alex a lot on our identity theft seminars. I'm actually a criminal justice undergrad, so I always joke that this is my one time I get to use my college degree for work. So, in particular, I know Alex just touched on a lot about identity theft. I would like to stress that one of the best ways to combat identity theft is just to be hyper vigilant with your personal matters, not just matters, but your documents, your finances. There's always warning signs out there that your information may be compromised. So just kind of being more aware of when those signs come up, like those explanation of benefits, like that email that your bank sent you and said, hey, were you in Chesapeake today? Because it says you spent $200 at Walmart, but then you spent $10 10 minutes later in Virginia Beach. You know what I'm saying? So just being aware to those signs. But what I'm going to talk about today in particular are scams and how being a little more aware of some legalities might help you recognize when a scam is a scam, because these guys are pretty crafty. As Alex said, they do make a living off of it, and they've gotten very, very good at swindling people out of their money. I don't know if any of you are familiar. I know I have this little meme up here, the Nigerian prince scam. Is anyone familiar with that scam? Yep. If you're not, what this scam was is that people were receiving a letter or phone calls from someone claiming to be the Nigerian prince, and he was in need of money, and he had money. He just had a freeze on his accounts or couldn't access his accounts. And if you could just forward him the money, then he would reward you handsomely for it. For your generosity and for helping the Nigerian prince out. Well, a lot of people were scammed out of money from that. And although we kind of laugh and think like, oh my gosh, who would fall for that? Quite a few people lost thousands of dollars with that scam. But in particular, we're going to talk about phone scams, debt collection, IRS scams. You probably heard about those, right? And then also some common online scams, and I actually have some pass outs that I'm going to show you. A real life cashier's check from a real life scammer that I brought, addressed to me. So with phone scams, I want to bring up a very common, obvious way to recognize a phone scam. It's the direction of communication. Which direction do you think the communication goes to with a scammer? Incoming, absolutely. You are getting called. You are receiving a letter. You're not calling the bank and getting scammed by an employee at the bank, likely. 99% of the time, that's not what's happening. What's happening is you're receiving a phone call from an imposter who is stealing the identity of an IRS employee or of a bank employee or of a debt collection agency. Even Legal Resources had their identity stolen because we had a group of scammers that were calling people saying they were paralegals with Legal Resources, and they were calling to collect unpaid debts. So it even happens to companies. So that's one thing I want you to recognize is that if you are receiving communication from an outsider, you should immediately be skeptical. Immediately. And don't feel bad about it either. It's your right to be skeptical about it. Okay? So with IRS scams, very common that you'll receive a phone call, but it's not just phone, it's email, text messages, and everything. I want to clarify the IRS will never make initial contact with you via phone call, text message. They're not going to message you on Facebook, okay? They don't operate like that. And if you've ever even tried to reach out to the IRS and get a matter handled, you're on the phone for like 2 hours waiting to talk to someone, right? You think they have time to make outbound calls to all these people? No. You're a number in a database and you get a letter. That's how the IRS will make initial contact with you. So your first initial thought when someone calls and they say they're from the IRS, that you owe taxes, and if you don't pay the taxes, they're going to throw you in jail. You can laugh at them and hang up. Sure, send the sheriff over. All right, nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to go to jail for it. If you do owe taxes, I would definitely look into that. As Alex said, pulling your report, one of the best ways to identify new account fraud. What we mean by that is that it's an account that was opened up without you being aware of it, right? Because you've all got monitors on your existing accounts, right? You open an account, it has your contact information on it. The bank contacts you when it seems to be compromised, right? But what about a new account? Someone opened it up for you. Do you think they're going to put your information on there, your contact information, so that the bank can let you know that a new account's been opened? Not at all. So you definitely want to run credit reports anytime you get a call, not only from a debt collection agency or from an outside agency, because it could be a valid attempt to recover money, and really it's because of a new account that's been open and defaulted, right? I know I kind of like went into debt collection there a little more. Also, just to touch on the IRS too, the IRS itself is never going to threaten you with a lawsuit. They're not going to threaten you with law enforcement action. Any of that is going to come from the courts, okay? The court is the one, and you're not just going to be like, hey, you didn't pay your taxes, you're going to jail. No, you're going to have a court proceeding first. I mean, there are processes in place that you're actually going to have to go through. So I just don't want you to think that it's just as easy that, the federal law enforcement, IRS, is going to come in and start taking all your stuff out of your house and all kinds of crazy stuff these scammers will tell you. With debt collection phone calls, couple things. If you do have a debt, right, it's valid, you still cannot be arrested for simply not paying your civil debts, okay? That concept's from debtor prisons. They did used to exist. People used to be arrested for it. But that's from like the 1800s that's been completely outlawed. So any debt collection agency that is harassing you by saying, if you don't pay this right now, $300, I'm sending the sheriffs over to your house, I'm putting a warrant out for your arrest, that's incorrect. They're actually violating the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, okay? Most of them won't do that because they know that's illegal. But if you happen to get that, I don't want that to be a tactic that you feel like, ooh, I don't know. Could I go to jail? I can't go to jail. I got to go to Operation Smile today and go to work. Should I give them that $300? So be aware of that first of all. And then again, with scammers, we'll try to use that same tactic to try and get you to fork over money. Also want to talk about elderly phone scams. So any of you have your parents or grandparents still alive? Any family members in their 80s? You did? Okay. Was it the, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so that's very common. That scam is called the grandparent scam. Mhm. Yeah, scammers are unrelentless. They really, I actually am happy to say on behalf of all the people scammed out there, including my grandfather, which I'm going to tell that story really quick, that I had well, you know what? No, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to tell it to you, but I don't want to bounce around too much. I had a similar instance with my grandfather, and shame on me because I sit here and talk about this for a living. But let me tell you about my grandfather. My grandfather's 83 years old. He builds computers, takes them apart, rebuilds them, does software updates. He has a cell phone that he texts on. He's on Facebook, right? He's not your typical elderly person this day and age, I would say. So I thought he would never fall for that. Oh, he fell for it. My grandfather got a call from an attorney that was representing my father. My father, I'm making air quotes, by the way, for all those people that are listening. My father supposedly drove to Georgia. We're from Florida, Tampa area. Drove to Georgia, and on his way to Georgia, got in a car accident and was arrested for DUI. The people he got in the car accident with were from out of the country. I think they said Puerto Rico or something like that. And they needed to catch a flight back right away the next day. And so just to expedite the whole process, they went ahead and paid the insurance company the deductible because the accident totaled their rental car, right? The deductible was $3,000. And my father was in jail and was not going to be released from jail until he paid the deductible. Because if he paid the deductible, then the people he hit would drop the DUI charges. Okay. That's not how the law works, one, okay? You do not, as a private citizen, have the power to sit there and be like, yeah, I know he hit me, but like, I know he had a DUI, but like, I don't want to charge him. The state's going to be like, yeah, that's not really in your authority to say so or not, right? Okay, one. But two, they actually had, as with your scenario, they had another man there. My grandpa said, well, can I talk to Buddy? My dad's name's Edward, but call him Buddy. Can I talk to Buddy? And this guy got on the phone and said, hey, Dad, I'm here, and went along, acted like my father. And my grandfather said, how come you don't sound the same? And he said, it's from the accident. I'm wearing a neck brace. Yep, exactly. So a couple things, when you relay these stories to your loved ones, especially your elder loved ones, elderly people are the most targeted for these scams. That's why they're called the grandparent scams, okay? Let them know that this call will be incoming communication to them, okay? Let them know that it will be an urgent matter. This needs to be paid urgently, or Buddy's going to be in jail for the whole weekend because the judge isn't even going to come back until Tuesday, right? So the communication is incoming. The matter is urgent. Anyone want to guess what the last part is? The payment. How do you pay? Wire transfer. MoneyGram, Western Union, wire transfer. Sometimes they're going to ask for a credit card or some other kind of information. That's terrible too, because you're giving them your financial information, your personal information. But wiregram transfer, I think within the first 30 minutes you have to cancel it, and it might even be shorter if she realized after 15 minutes. But if you do not cancel it within that first 30-minute time frame, it's gone. It's gone. Walmart can't take it back. You go to the customer service center at Walmart, can't do it. It's gone. So with this, I do want to bring up what Alex said about Facebook, social media in general. Social networking is the most handy tool out there, right? It's great if you're in sales, if you want to find out, who works where and everything. It's great if you want to reconnect with family members. It's fantastic if you're a criminal. Fantastic. What an awesome tool. You mean I just get to go on this web page and go on this person's Facebook, and I can see who she's related to, I can see what her children's name are, I can see where they go to school. I can assume a completely false and synthetic identity and totally scam this person, no problem.
Well, I've seen people also, like, I don't know if it's the cloning thing, like when you get friend requests from people you're already friends with.
Absolutely. It's all part of social engineering because, like Alex said, the more identities you have, the more contacts you can reach out to. Think of identity theft and scamming like this. Like, they're fishers, right? What do you do when you fish? You put bait on a hook, you throw the hook in the pond, and you just sit there and wait for someone to bite, right? Well, we're all just swimming in the pond, right? We sit there and sometimes we grab the bait. Sometimes the hook gets us and they take us all the way out of the pond, right? Caught the fish. Sometimes we nip on the bait, we kind of get caught on it, and then we realize halfway through, we don't want this bait, and we let go, right? Scamming and identity theft is completely like that. It's just a shot in the dark. It's the quick, victimization, if you will. So that said, if you have a Facebook, if your kids have a Facebook, make sure everybody's got their privacy settings completely on lockdown. Okay? The cloning is so you can get in as a friend, and now those privacy settings are gone. My friends have severe limits to what they can see on my Facebook profile. They cannot see my birthday. They cannot see my family dynamic. Facebook likes to say, oh, here's Sahara's mother, here's Sahara's father, here's Sahara's sister, right? That's hidden. Even my friends can't see that. But that's what they do. They use social engineering. They use websites like Spookio and whitepages.com to sit there and pull records. They can sit there and go, oh, Edward is related to Edward Jr., and he's about this age. Edward Sr.'s 83, boom, right there. Here's his telephone number. So just make them aware of it. Most times once they hear it and they go, oh my God, that's ridiculous, it makes them more prepared for it when they do get that phone call. And let them know, like, hey, if you ever get a phone call like that, call me right away. My grandfather there's a lot of, you could have done this, you could have done that. I mean, if it were me now, knowing what I do now, I'd say, okay, what jail's he at? What county is he in? I call that jail. Verify that my father's even there, right? So, and that's very common with phishing scams too, and smishing scams. Basically, anytime you have an entity initiating communication with you and you can't be sure of who it is on the other side, you want to disconnect the communication and reverse it, right? An example with the phishing email, Bank of America emails you and says, hey, it's time to update your password and your login information. Log in here and you can do it. No, don't do that. Log on to Bank of America and log in directly through bankofamerica.com, all right? Is everyone terrified now? Because as long as everyone's nice and terrified. Just kidding. All right, moving on to some common online scams. Anyone use these platforms? Yeah, most of us do. I use Let Go all the time. I actually have a closet full of bridesmaid dresses that I got to get rid of because I'm never going to wear them again. And in fact, through this particular platform, I got to see firsthand, and I voluntarily participated in a scam that we're going to talk about called an excess scam. And I actually have the real check that I was sent from the scammer. I was like, yeah, waste the postage, mail it to me. I gave him Legal Resources address. Here, do you want to pass it around? You want to see? You can look at the check, see that, minus the name of who it was sent by, it looks pretty official. And even if you hold it up to the light, it's got watermarks on it. Looks like a real check. So an excess scam is when a scammer will approach you, whether it's you're selling a product on Craigslist or Let Go, or another website, eBay, that you're selling a product on. They say they're going to buy the product, right? And they say they're going to send you a cashier's check. Okay, this day and age, what reputable company uses cashier's checks anymore to deal with a transaction? Nobody, because everyone takes regular credit card payments now, right? But I knew what they were the moment they said, I'm going to send you a cashier's check. I said, okay, yeah, sure, send it to me, because I wanted to see what it really looked like in person, So what they will do is they're going to send you a check that's in excess of what the amount that the product was for, or what they're supposed to send you. So for me, this kind scammer agreed to buy all my bridesmaid dresses. I was like, oh, darn it, I wish this was true. I gotta get rid of these things. Which is gonna be around $400 something. They sent me a check, as you can see, for $1,750. That's way more than what I asked for. Well, this text message is actually from the scammer. Another common thing a scammer will do if you're on a platform like this is they want to get your cell phone number. They want to get off that platform before they get flagged. Okay? So that's a huge red flag there. Let go. All these platforms usually that can facilitate everything within them. Maybe not Craigslist because it's all email. But I said, well, you know, why is the check different? I don't understand. And they're going to give you some bogus excuse like this. You know, oh, it's my financier's fault. The backstory to all this, by the way, is that I came up with this crazy weekend of why I couldn't get to Walmart. I kept getting to Walmart, but then something would happen. I'd have to stop. And I essentially wasted about 48 hours of this person's time. And I think I used up all their data because they had to switch phone numbers eventually. So I was like, give it to them a little bit. Waste their time and postage money. But that is a huge red flag. So what happens is they're sending you a fake check. You cash the fake check. Again, there's urgency there. Did you cash it yet? Or did you deposit it yet? Okay, great. I need the money now. My shipper needs the money now. I really need the money. You got to give me the difference because my shipper's got to get it. Okay, so there's always urgency in a scam. All right, so this is a great example of what that type of excess scam looks like. Again, letting our elderly population know cashier's checks, we don't do them anymore really, and it's certainly not an appropriate type of payment for this type of for these types of platforms.
So is that, I mean, it looks legit.
Mm-hmm. It would go through. The bank would accept it. I believe that it is a real check. I don't think it's not linked to any kind of fund. Yeah, I think that there's either it's linked to an account overseas that has $0 in it. And what happens is you end up depositing the check, you pay the scammer the difference, and then the bank comes back 3 or 4 days later and takes away, they just completely minus out the check, right? And then you are left with the negative difference. Which for me, if I would have succumbed to this, would have been, you know, around $1,300.
Plus fees.
Yeah, plus fees, exactly. A nice guy. Another thing I want to bring to your attention are these work from home scams. Now, all of you are obviously employed, but this happens a lot, especially when people become unemployed, like a spouse, or you have someone that's retired, they're looking for extra income, or perhaps someone just out of school. These work from home scams are really, really popular. The issue with these scams is they operate a lot like the excess scams, right? In that you could be given a paycheck, but then have to take money out of your account to help handle another project on behalf of your boss, and then next thing you know, your paycheck bounces, right? And you've just paid out of pocket. Another thing you can do too, unwittingly of course, is that people end up engaging in criminal activity technically because they participate in these scams if the scam involves a transaction type of work role. What I mean by that is, this is what I need you to do. You're just doing payment processing, but I need to use your account because I'm in another country and I need a US account, right? People fall for this all the time. What's your account number? Okay, I'm going to deposit money in your account. You're going to get a commission for every transaction. And so essentially, you're not meaning to, of course, but you're basically helping engage in money laundering. Because taking stolen funds, going through your account, and then you are being directed to issue it to a new account. Some signs of these scams. Position involves transferring money or goods. Job responsibilities are never illustrated. We've all applied to jobs. We know that most job postings are like 3 pages long. You're like, okay, yep, I get it, 60 words a minute, okay, you know. Company operates from another country. Position requires 0 experience or education. This is the kicker right here. Too good to be true. Too good to be true. That's huge. Does it feel too good to be true? It probably is. Look into it. Don't hand over your financial information or your personal information too. This is an identity theft tactic as well. Here, fill out this employment form. I need your social security number. I need your address. Turns into that as well. Writing style. As you saw from the text, oh no, sorry. There we go. As you can see from the text, this is from a scammer. You can see the grammar is not really there. Yeah, exactly. And I know that seems kind of, like, okay, don't let that be the sole, factor, but it is a telltale sign. And then the email address, always looking where it's coming from. Obviously, if it's coming from a platform, you can't really see the email address, and that's why they want to get you via text, so those red flags aren't there. But if it's coming from an email, a big red flag is that the email is not coming from a company domain name. When you guys email other people for work, it comes from your Operation Smile emails, right? It's because you guys own your own domain name. You're a valid operating business. These scammers aren't, so they don't have, and again, it's like phishing too. It's got to go for the quick steal. They don't have time to sit there and let's create a fake domain name and everything like that. So, oops. Oh, inheritance scam. These are fun. Okay. And I thought everyone would have to share, but it looks like we have enough. Here we go. You have? Oh, good. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, lucky you. You have a relative that passed away. He was a millionaire. Lucky you. It's your lucky day. The Cinderella story of someone passing. So the inheritance scam's pretty common. I'm not going to sit here and go, this is why this is a scam because of all these different probate processes, because years from now, you're not going to remember any of that. But what I did was I highlighted some telltale signs, again, that scammers use that you can go scam right off the bat. The first highlight, unfortunately, this customer died intestate, leaving his bank account open under the beneficiary status. These will usually always say the person passed intestate. Okay, they're trying to look official. They're like, oh, we said intestate. It's legit now. We used a legal term. Okay, intestate really just means how your succession of your assets. So how are your assets distributed if you pass without a will? Really, half to the spouse, half to the kids, 1/3 to the spouse, 2/3 to the kids, however the state dictates. Okay. The second thing in this letter, if we do not make claim to the funds now, the funds would be reverted back to the system as unclaimed estate at the expiration of a 10-year dormancy period. Well, they just said that no one's claimed it for the past 10 years earlier on, right? Again, urgency. You got to act now. You got to act now or you're going to lose all this money. Okay? This one too requires all confidentiality at this stage, and I believe you are ready to keep this absolutely discreet until you're able to claim the funds from the bank. Don't tell anybody. If you tell somebody, they might let you know this is a scam. Don't tell anybody. Okay? That's why when the scammers call you, like the grandparent scam, it's very common they say, please don't tell mom. Mom's going to kill me, or dad's going to kill me. Don't tell dad. Okay? They want you to keep it confidential because the more likely you are to talk to somebody, the more likely you are to slow down, take a breath, think rationally. So they don't want you to talk to anybody, and they want you to act quickly. Okay? Statistically, boys are more likely. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we just talked about with the domain names too. This is supposedly coming from Canada Trust. I looked that up. That's actually a real bank. Okay? So just like how Identity Thieves did with Legal Resources, they did it with this as well. And most entities, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of entities actually get their identity stolen to victimize people. But if you look at the bottom, the contact, email contact, is a personal email account. You're an account manager for a bank, you're giving people personal email account? Yep. Well, he says in the introduction. Oh, yeah, exactly. So there's lots of red flags in this letter that would definitely, I hope, make you take pause and go like, okay, wait a second, right? So just another example, don't be intimidated by anything that has some legal language. That's done on purpose to make you react quicker, to scare you. We're sending the cops over. That's meant to scare you into reacting quicker, okay? You have to be discreet. If you don't, we can seek legal action. That's meant to scare you, okay? So don't ever be intimidated by language like that. I can tell you, again, with the IRS, the debt collection scams, cops aren't coming to your house, okay? Actually said to my scammer, because he kept telling me eventually that he's going to, the cops were coming. I texted him yesterday. I was showing Aaron in the car. I said, hey, how was your day? He said, it is a working day. You will be arrested soon. I said, it's taking a really long time to arrest me. Police times aren't usually this long, or police response times. I'm going to use up all their data. That's where I am. Okay, and last but not least, just some red flag terms to take away. 3 simple terms: cashier's check, MoneyGram, and Western Union. Seriously. If you hear those, immediately be skeptical. No offense to MoneyGram and Western Union, because they are valid money transfer companies, but any stranger that is asking you to make a payment using these companies, don't do it. And then usually, again, even a family member, right, asking you to use these. First off, I don't know what 18-year-old these days knows what MoneyGram is or Western Union. So that is it for me. Are there any questions off the bat? Thank you for sharing your story, by the way. I feel like the worst grandchild in the world that I didn't tell my grandpa. That's, about this. So all of you have cell phones, I imagine. Send your grandparents or your parents a text right now and say, remind me to tell you about the grandparent scam. Because once you tell them, they'll remember. It will help them, especially when you're elderly or on a fixed income. That's awful. It's awful. Special place for those people when they go, hopefully. All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over back to Alex. I know Alex touched on our identity theft benefit we offer here through Operation Smile. There have been, as you're probably aware, if you are a current identity theft member, there have been some changes this year, exciting changes. So Alex is going to clarify those, as well as just give you a brief recap of those. Thanks. Oh, yep, and I have to give you this, sorry.
Okay, everybody scared enough yet? Well, there is help. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And it's called identity theft protection plans. That is the best that we can offer today to actually help you, besides you being vigilant. Now, just like Sahara said, we can't stress this enough. Being vigilant is the most important thing. Because who else is going to come to your rescue? You see, when you go to the police, they don't like these cases. You know why? How much do you think they resolve from these cases? Do they resolve them? In many cases, the perpetrators are not even in this country. How are they going to go and prosecute them? They don't. They don't even attempt. If they find out it's something that doesn't involve millions of dollars or somebody dead, they would have no incentive to really pursue it. They don't have the funding or even the knowledge to go and work with other governments to actually fix these things. So a lot of this is actually on us to help ourselves with vigilance and maybe using plans like the identity theft plans to just help. It's about getting some extra help. Nothing will really prevent it. If someone comes and says, I'm going to help you, we're going to stop all identity theft and all scams, don't believe them. That's not going to happen because it's not possible. The thieves are going to come up with something new tomorrow, and we're going to talk about it at our next meeting. Unfortunately, it just changes because they're smart guys. They think about this stuff all day long. But everything we're saying is just based on real life examples. These things do happen all the time. And they happen everywhere too. Like in Bulgaria, this is the country I came from a long time ago. Currently, they have these scams going on with the elderly in a similar fashion. And there's cases where, you know, a lot of people there live in these big buildings with 10 floors, and there's grandmas throwing bags of money to the thieves from the 8th floor, from the balcony. They just throw the money because they can't even walk outside of the building. But they're throwing the money to help their grandson because he got arrested somewhere. You can't imagine how often has that happened there. It's very sad, but yes, the elderly, they're very vulnerable. They fall for these things all the time. And it's all over the world. So it is something that is plaguing our society when we have to do what we can. Vigilance helps. So I wanted to ask you first, is anyone here currently on our identity theft protection plan? Great. Thanks for your business. More than half of you. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it as if some of you, of course, some of you are not on the plan, and for the ones that are, some of it may be old news, but I wanted to go over a couple of the details about it. What do you get with such plan if you get it? This is a separate voluntary benefit. We offer a legal plan and we offer identity theft protection plans. They're two separate benefits, right? I know you have open enrollment coming up in less than a month, so you'll have the opportunity to sign up if you have not. So what do you get? Real-time monitoring of all of your personal and financials. And when I say real-time monitoring, our system monitors more than 100,000 websites every day, including the so-called dark web. This is where the stolen information gets, and that's where the thieves are posting it for sale. And they trade it and they sell it to the highest bidders. Your credit card sells for about $1. That's how much your credit cards are worth. When they steal these numbers, they sell them there. They sell your social security number, your name, address, email. They sell all types of information they have on you. So it's like Amazon, but in the cards they have some very strange things. You can buy a hitman for about $8,000. You can buy drugs, you can buy stolen credit cards, and that's real. You cannot go through that site from Google because regular search engines don't go there. But if you have the proper software, and I can tell you what it is for extra fee, I'm just joking, but I've heard about it. There is special software you have to install on your computer to even get into the so-called dark web. And it's not that easy for most people to do. But once you're there, you can buy everything you can imagine, including the things that you should never ever try to buy, such as babies and kidneys. And yes, they are there for sale. So that's what information is that's stolen. It's posted there. Our system monitors it and it will alert you in advance if something is exposed. Now, what is the difference between that and a bank notification? The bank will alert you if somebody in another country is trying to buy something with your money, but the bank will not alert you that your information is posted for sale. So you're going to get much more advanced notification that something may be going wrong. So you have the chance to stop it before it happens. You also get advanced fraud monitoring. The second feature there that you see on the screen, this is a great one because it will alert you when there's a pending application for credit with your social. So if somebody in California is trying to buy a car right now with your social, you're going to know in advance. If you didn't have this service, you wouldn't know. You're going to find out after it gets on your credit, maybe a couple of months later.
So I just wanted to share, I recently moved and I had to do a rental application to check your credit. So they said, well, we'll check it and we'll notify you in the next couple of days. And I got a text message next morning, 9 a.m. and it says someone's pulling your credit report right now. And so I was like, yep. But I knew who it was, so I knew it was fine, but I could go there and I was able to see what was going on with it.
So you're going to get alerts. Yes, thank you for sharing that. That happens each time. Never fails. When somebody's checking your credit, you're going to know in advance that there's an attempt for a credit using your information. Maybe you did it yourself, but maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was a thief. And that's what the benefit of this function is, because before anything bad happens, before it gets on your credit report, you're going to know. And that's the benefit of that feature. You also have credit reports and scores. Now we have, this is the time to mention this, we have, for the ones of you that already have the product, we have our own identity theft plans now. Your continuous coverage still is going on. There's no changes, but we added some extra additional enhancements, and that's one of them. For the gold plan, you're getting actually monthly credit report and score from TransUnion, free of charge, included with the service. And for the platinum plan, you get triple credit bureau monitoring daily. You get monthly updated reports and scores from each. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And it's updated each month. And you get the actual Vantage 3.0 score, which is the best one that is used today. And that's all included in the service now. And you have also the bottom two, the so-called reactive benefits. Something bad happened, now what do we do? Fully managed restoration means that our agents will do all the work to fix your identity theft case. You will do a little bit of work, of course, in the beginning, but they will take over and they will make phone calls and paperwork so you don't have to deal with it on your own. This is a great service to have. And last but not least is the insurance. You get up to $1 million per incident to help you with expenses. For example, if you have to go to court, maybe in another state, to deal with identity theft case because a thief bought a house with your social, what's going to happen to your work? What about the kids? Child care is covered. Lost wages are covered. Transportation is covered. Your lawyer is completely covered. Your attorney representation. That's what the insurance is for. That's why it's so high, especially because of the attorney expenses. So this is what our new interface looks like. For those of you that already have the plan, have you seen this? So we updated this. It's a refreshed new look. It's, as you can see, everything is now Legal Resources branded. In the past, we were partnering with Identity Force, but that is no longer the case. And now it's our own plans. So you have the same coverage. We have some additional enhancements, and this is the refreshed user interface. Very easy to use. Everything is self-explanatory. And I'll go over a couple of the screens for you. In this section here on the left side that you see, this is where you enter the information that you want to be monitored. If you haven't done so, the ones of you that have the plan, please go online and do this. If you're missing the welcome email, call us, we'll resend it to you. Okay? So what happens is you have to go in online and create an account, and you're going to access this. We call it the dashboard. This is where you enter all of your information to be monitored. Your social, your credit cards, your web logins, frequent flyer cards, loyalty cards, your passport number, your driver's license number, your medical insurance. Once you enter all that in, the system will monitor every legal website to see if that information is posted for sale anywhere. And it will alert you in advance that there's something going on. That is the benefit of this. Yes? Excellent question. Yes, this is like the holy grail of information here, isn't it? Yes. Well, here's an example. No one can say that they will absolutely 100% protect you from anything ever. Now, our business is to protect identities. One breach gets us out of business. Our job is actually to secure everybody's information even better than what the banks do. So we're better than the banks. You know why? If a bank has a breach, would they go out of business? No, they wouldn't. They're probably going to buy some, probably the most affordable option to give out to people that were affected by the breach. They're going to pay some money to a company like the partners that we're using to actually offer such service for free of charge, maybe for a year or two. And that's it. The bank goes on. There is no out of business deal here. The bank continues just like it did yesterday. No problems, right? If we have a breach, we're out of business tomorrow, because that's our business, is to protect identities. The banks, who do they call when they have a breach? They call companies like ours. There's no one else to call beyond us. That's how serious it is. That's how seriously we take a look at this. And our protection is actually the best there is, period, on this planet. So that's the best that I can tell you as far as how well we're protecting your information. Now, once you enter this here, we're not seeing that. No one sees that but you. Only if you have an identity theft breach, the agents may have to access some of it. But other than that, no one ever sees that. Not us, no one here from our company, because you enter this yourself. When you apply for this product, you just put in your personal info like name, address, phone number, and email address. That's it. So you're not giving us your credit card. So when I say you are offering this information, here is you are putting it into a computer server directly from your computer to another computer. And that's it. And then the system, the software monitors it. The truth is, no one ever sees that information that you're putting in. And no one should be seeing that information. So I'm glad you asked that question. So we use the best protection there is. For those of you that like numbers, we use 2048-bit encoding protection for the data at rest. 2048-bit encoding. If you know a little bit about IT, this is the best that exists today for encoding information. There is nothing better that it's out in the world. So we use physical protection and computer protection with multiple firewalls. Our agents on the phone don't use paper, so nobody records anything down to take out of a building. So everything is done on a computer system. So we've taken multiple measures and we have all the certifications possible to protect your data. And again, even one breach can take us out of business. And you can imagine that's why we're using the best there is, because this is our business. We cannot afford to have a breach ever. And there has never been a breach with our partners throughout the history of when we work with them. So it is a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. So this is where you enter the data that you want to be protected. If you don't enter anything here, it's not mandatory, but I suggest that you do, because if you don't, we have nothing to look for you and alert you about, right? So the more you put in here, the more protected you will be, because our system will alert you if any of that information is exposed. You also have your credit reports and scores over here in this section here where it says 695. This is a credit score. If you click on that button, you're going to actually see your credit reports and scores. If you have the gold plan, you're going to see one credit bureau report and score from TransUnion. If you have the platinum plan, you're going to see all three, just like you're seeing it on the screen now. And this is updated every 30 days, and it's included. There's no extra cost to this, but you're getting it updated now each and every month. And once you click on one of these blue buttons below the scores, you're going to actually see your credit reports side by side, your detailed credit reports also. So this is the place where you enter the information, the dashboard, the information to be monitored and to review your credit reports, because this is one of the most important things about your financial strength is your credit, and staying on top of it is very important for everybody.
That you had passports, one. So that means you can enter more than one passport?
No, you can enter as many as you want. There is no
Put your
limit.
kids' information too, right?
Yes.
So in doing your kids, the information, you're putting their social security number in there?
You can put unlimited number of data.
Including
I put their library card numbers.
Yes.
People scam children all the time.
That's absolutely true. Yes.
It's true.
Now, what about her high school school number? Do you put that in as well?
Yes, you can put that into. You can put any information that you want.
Even though she's now 18 in college?
Yes. People can use information from the past to create synthetic identities and do other damage. So what happens is you can use information here in this section right here where it says other cards to put other information that is not part of the other entries here. The system is not discriminating as far as what are you putting in exactly. But of course, if it's a passport number, you're going to put it exactly here where it says passport. And again,
She's 22 now. They won't speak to me regarding any. I'm like, she wanted me to call and put, can you just make this my primary? And I'm like, yeah, but they won't talk to me. I didn't pay the bill and you're under me, but they won't speak to me.
this is a security measure, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I could put her information in here.
Yes, you can. You're going to get monitoring for whoever you like. You can even put your neighbor's credit cards here and monitor them if they allow you to have them.
Texting me.
You're going to get the email alerts, yes. You're going to get the email alerts on anything that is exposed, and that is something that the system does 24/7. It doesn't matter who the information belongs to, it will be monitored. Now, what happens here is these individual plans, you are the only one that's going to get the restoration, the insurance, and the credit reports. But for the monitoring itself, you can monitor your whole family if you like. It doesn't matter how many entries you put here, the system is limitless. This is another enhancement that we did not have before. For those of you that had the plan from before, there was a limit on how many accounts you could put in the past. Now there's no limit. You can put 100 credit cards if you want here. It's regardless. I don't know why would you have 100 cards, but that's a classic case of identity theft, probably.
I got a phone call probably about a week ago, but it's persistent. They happen about 3 times. Where somebody calls me, they introduce themselves that they're from Virginia, Maryland. My
Yes. They would not call you about a credit card information like this. It is not the job of Virginian Pilot.
It's not.
It's not the job of Virginian Pilot to talk to you about a credit card. Now, it is possible that you may be contacted to renew a subscription that you may have had in the past, but that's usually not done via phone calls. Most institutions will do basically mail. That is how it will come. And what is the best way to check? Call Virginian Pilot. That's all you do. Just call whoever the company is, just call them directly and see what is going on. And if there is something legitimate to it, you will work on it. But you have to call them back, not them calling you.
But let me ask you a question. So to me, my information is compromised with Virginia Pilot. Is there anything you would have been able to do about that, or to alert me on that?
To take you off?
To me, huh?
To take you off the list? As far as stopping the calls, there's not much you can do. But this is what you could do. You can, first of all, you can go online to the Do Not Call Registry website, and you can put your phone number there. It's not perfect, but it will take off some of the phone calls coming your way from telemarketers. That's one thing. The second thing is simply a function on the phone itself to block that phone number. They will do it probably again from another later, but once you start blocking numbers, sooner or later it will be reduced. What you're going to get as far as incoming calls will be reduced. And these are the two things you can do. It's not going to completely eliminate the issue, but that's all you can do.
You might hear one ring and then it automatically goes.
Yes.
I have an instance where I keep getting calls. It's my cell phone, and the people keep calling me and telling me they want to talk to my husband. And I keep. It first started when it was the IRS. I listened to them and I said, you know, you're a real jackasses, because I know that you're not from the IRS, so don't call this number.
Tell them like it is.
Calling me back for a couple of times. No, they don't. Now I keep getting calls saying, can I talk to Ray Nieto? And I'm like, this is not my husband's number. Please do not call this number again. But I don't give them his number.
Yes, you're doing the right thing. But again, there is no way to stop these calls completely because they may call from another robotic system. They may use another caller ID number.
No more NOMO ROBO. Type that in Google.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yes, this will help also.
It's unbelievable.
It's not going to stop all of them, and I'll explain why, but it will help. It will help a lot because if you have ever been to some, let's say, company, maybe timeshare presentation or something else, if you have signed some documentation, you may have already signed that it's okay to use your number. That's why sometimes the do not call registries may not work that well, or the no more robo. It may not work because they say, here, there's a paper and she signed. So they might have been some things. We've all done this over the years, and they may use an old document from 5 years ago. You signed something, you had your name and phone number. That's why they got it from. Besides, even if it's Virginia Empower or Dominion Power or Cox Cable or whoever your utilities are, well, they sell you information sometimes too. They may not tell you. Sometimes the information you're signing by is so convoluted with lawyer language that you don't understand it. Usually, whoever you're giving your information to, even if it's a legitimate company, tomorrow they're going to sell it to 1,000 others. What's going to happen? What's going to happen is they're going to start calling you for other products. They say, okay, when you sign here, by your signature, you're actually giving consent that they can call you. And even if you're on a do not call registry list, they will still call you because you signed that it's okay to do that. A lot of companies do that. By the signature, you're already giving up that information. So that's the best that you can do. Sign up for the No More Robos, sign up the Do Not Call registry, and the rest of it is just simply blocking the numbers that you know that you don't want to get calls from. It's the best that we can do. It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do. Now, we're almost finished. Just wanted to show you how do you do when something actually happens and what's your process. If something happens to you, again, if it's a credit card, the first thing you call is your credit card company. If it's anything beyond a number that you have and company to call, anything beyond that, file a police report, do an FTC report to Federal Trade Commission, and then call us. If you have this plan, just call us.
I had that that happened to me where it was my checking account that they got into.
Mhm.
The you know that thing where they slide your check through.
Mhm.
What do you call it again? Anyway, they would not release. The bank did close up my account, transferred funds to another account, but the old account they would not. They've got the information still under my name to be resolved, and the new one they would not. Anytime you send my new check through that scan, they would not release any funds. And they said that it's because I need to give them my social security number. The police department told me do not, under no circumstances, give them my social security number. So the last time I had a discussion with them, they asked for it again. I said, I told you already, I am not giving up my social security number to you because the police said, don't give you my number. And they refuses to release any new check that goes through the scanner. They're going to bounce it back.
Yes, that is unfortunate, but there are only a couple of companies, I know it's not many, that do the check processing, and once there's already a fraud happening with your account, it may chase you as a problem for years.
Now, the thing was, I did not file, the police did not tell me to file a report with this Federal Trade. That I didn't do.
They may have offered some more help. I cannot say what they could have done more for you, but I can say that if you have our plan and you call us, like this here says, basically you, after the police, you should call us if you have the plan. Our agents will work on resolving your case, regardless of how long it's going to take. It doesn't even matter when it started, because identity theft is sometimes it's impossible to tell when it started. Maybe it started 5 years ago.
So the boys have the plan now. They had a problem that pre-existed their benefits started. They can still use the service to help solve it, or is that
They will have limited help in this case because there's been work done on it. If there was no discovery before your effective date, let's say the effective date is July 1st. If you uncovered something after July 1st, it will be completely covered by us. If you uncovered it after July 1st. But if you already started working with the police before, it's not covered like that. It's covered with limited help. How limited it is, I do not know. You have to call the number and find out. So if you have the plan, if you had it before, you can still call our number. But if you never had the plan and you're signing up now, it will work 100% to cover you only for issues you uncover after the effective date of the plan. Now, at that point, after the effective date passes, if you uncover something, you will be covered regardless of when the issue may have started actually, because the breach may have occurred 3 years ago. But if you uncover the problem after the effective date, you'll be completely covered. Does that make sense? So it does matter if you did work on a breach or you didn't do any work on it as far as when it started. Okay? So that's what makes the difference, what's covered and what's partially covered. Okay. Well, these are the prices, but again, we're going to talk more when it's the open enrollment period. This is per pay period. You know, we have gold and platinum plans. There's brochures here. You can take one if you like. But we're going to talk a little bit more during your open enrollment on the details of that. So for the enrollment process, you do it online, just as you sign up for your other benefits. So the enrollment process is exactly the same for medical, for dental, and all of your other benefits. And of course, all of our websites are optimized for mobile devices. This is what it's going to look like if you have it on your phone. It's really neat, yes. There is also talk from our IT department that we'll probably come up with a specialized app in the future for this. But even today, you can use it, of course, on tablets and phones, no problem. It automatically reframes it to look great on any mobile device. So that was all from us. I'm glad that you shared your stories with us. It's really important, and it will help other people too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.